If Mother Nature doesn't fascinate you, then you're not paying attention. Check this out. This is a grafted avocado tree, a successfully grafted avocado tree. This is a combination of two trees. We planted the stem here, the stalk, we planted it out of seed. Then we went out in my grove and took a cutting from one of the trees whose behavior we like. And we took that cutting and we inserted it into the stem. And the tree treats that like a wound, and it heals the wound. And I've actually now fused two trees together, and look at what's happening. It's starting to grow. It's starting to push out new green sprouts. Here's another one that's just now starting to succeed. See that little bit of green pushing out? And here's what they look like about a year later. This is a tree we grafted about a year ago, and you can see there the original stem, the split where we inserted the cutting. Here's the cutting, and look at that. It's a growing, healthy tree. And the reason I say Mother Nature is incredible, because when you think about it, we're taking two different trees and fusing them together. And Mother Nature, the organisms in Mother Nature want to survive. So this tree heals itself and continues growing. The DNA of the original tree will stay below the graft, and that will be under the ground in the root system. And the DNA from above the graft will be identical to the tree I took this cutting from. The other fascinating and incredible aspect of tree grafting is that human beings invented it. We are part of Mother Nature, right? People like to talk about like the earth and then there's us. Mother Nature and then there's people. But I don't see it that way. I see us as part of nature. And back in the old days, a long time ago, people had to spend all day hunting for food, preparing their food, and eating their food. Their whole day was around food production and food consumption. So since people spent all day either looking for food, preparing food, or consuming their food, they didn't have time to do anything else. They didn't have time to invent medicines, to come up with better ways to build shelters, to be able to build bridges and roads, etc. So if you found a new food source that was easy to acquire, it was a huge advancement for the species. And that's what tree grafting did for human beings. People were running around back in ancient times, and all of a sudden they see these green fruit hanging from a tree. They taste the fruit. The fruit tastes good. It didn't kill them. It provided nutrition. They said, I want more of that. So they planted the seeds in the ground, but they noticed not every tree gave them the same fruit. Some of the trees gave them inedible fruit. Other trees didn't give them fruit at all. And they said, I want the same fruit I got from that other tree. And somewhere along the line, somebody says, well, what if I plant a seed in soil, and when I get a little stem, I cut it, and I cut a slit. And then I go to a tree that I like, and I take a clipping of that tree, and I insert that clipping. Maybe I'll get an identical replica of the tree I took the cutting from. And that's exactly what happened. So here we see two examples of the wonder of nature. Human beings' will to survive and our inventiveness, and the avocado tree's adaptability. If you want to try grafting a tree yourself, just go down into my videos and go back about 3 or 4 vids ahead of this one, and you'll see Jorge and Yolanda grafting these beautiful choquette avocado trees. Now let's go look at another survivor out by my driveway. 4 weeks ago, my wife came out to take my son to school in the morning. She looked right here at our John boat, and it was covered in ice. We had a frost. Well, frost is no good for crops, especially avocado trees. And more than avocado trees, frost is terrible for mango trees. The problem is when we got that frost a month ago, the mango trees were already flowering. Just like these flowers here, this mango tree was covered in flowers. And look it, we got the frost, and now they're all black and dead. But mango trees want to survive. They want to procreate their species. And in order to do that, they need to create fruit. And in order to create fruit, they need flowers. So look at what this tree did. It did a second flowering. It knew that its first batch of flowers died, and it is now doing a second flowering. And so are all our mango trees, and some of them are even starting to produce fruit. Now it might be a little hard to see, but this branch right here already has a couple little mangoes growing. So not only did the mango trees survive the frost, but this year's crop did as well. And as I'm looking over my cameraman's shoulder here, I see an example of another survivor. This is one of our mamey trees. My son's football coach ran into it with his car when he came over for a barbecue. This guy also went through the frost, but look, it's starting to sprout. Little baby mamey. Let me show you what those things look like when they're mature. But the thing I worry about the most when a frost hits, obviously, is my avocado growth. But all it takes is a quick glance down this row to see that these trees are doing fine. All that yellow is flowers. These trees are covered with flowers. And the way these guys survived is, we knew the frost was coming, so we fired up our pump that night and ran the irrigation. This puts out water at about 25 pounds per square inch, 25 psi. And these sprinklers not only squirt the water, but they aerate the water. And that water below the surface is maybe 65, 68 degrees. And by aerating it and spraying down the trees, we actually raised the temperature in the grove high enough that the trees didn't freeze. That ice you saw in the back of my boat, that didn't settle on the trees here in the grove. And the way we know that is not only do we have beautiful flowers everywhere, but they are open and full of pollen. And avocados have a fascinating strategy to ensure their survival. This flower I just showed you here, this is open and covered in pollen. This is a Monroe variety avocado tree, and it is open as male. Let me just put my glasses on to make sure. Yeah, this is open as a male flower. I can see the shiny pollen and I can see the male organs. This will close up, and later on this afternoon it'll open again as female. But while this guy's open as male, my choquette trees open as female. So the Monroe down the row there is giving out pollen, and this flower is open and receptive to pollen. Let me show you a picture of a male versus a female flower. So right now, my Monroes are pollinating my choquettes. It's morning. Later in the afternoon, my choquettes will open as male, and my Monroes will open as female, and the choquettes will pollinate the Monroes. And that's how the avocado species remains genetically diverse. And since we're on the topic of survival, I thought I'd come out and pick some sapodilla. Because if my wife and son knew these were ripe and ready to be picked and I didn't pick them, they'd kill me. I'm doing this for my own survival. If you have never tried sapodilla, you got to get you some. Go to a specialty store, go online, come to South Florida in March, and get you a taste of this stuff. It is absolutely delicious. Come here, Tommy. Let's share a sapodilla. What's it taste like? Do you have a...
It tastes kind of sandy.
It does. It has like a gritty, almost like a pear. Might have like a gritty texture to it. How about the flavor? Do you get like a cinnamon taste from it at all? I taste cinnamon sometimes. Look at that. There's a little pit. You can actually eat the skin. The skin is kind of like a kiwi fruit skin, but a little thinner. How good is that?
Very good.
Doesn't it make you happy just to eat this stuff?
Yeah.
And how does it feel to know we grew it ourselves?
Really? Pretty cool.
Because we're talking about survival, right, Tom?
Yeah.
The reason I do all this is for you. I want you to have this when you're bigger. Just like these trees and that pineapple have been passing down their survival genetics generation after generation, I'm trying to pass down the knowledge of how to run this farm to my boy here. And in addition to knowing how to grow all this stuff and take care of a farm, what else do you need to know how to do, Tomboy?
You need to know how to sell the fruit.
And where do we sell our fruit?
Guacfarm.com. GUACFARM.com.
And if you like this t-shirt, you can get that out there also. So while Tommy finishes picking these sapodillas, you go out to guacfarm.com And I will see you on the next video.